Hello, my name is Mayra Calo, and I am starting a video series. This is going to be the first one. Hopefully it will be funny and informative enough for you to follow and come back and watch the further ones that I have planned. This is my first one. If I make any mistakes, I'll just correct them as I go along because I don't know how to use the software yet to edit out mistakes. So I hope you bear with me and feel free to make comments. I will respond to them. Please be kind. I am new at this. I'm going to have a series of informative videos regarding immigration law. And I'm going to start with a history of immigration law in the United States, and after that I will explain how immigration law evolved into the system that we have now, and then I will explain the different intricacies of the immigration law as it exists now. I'm hoping that this will inform the public so that they make informed decisions. There is going to be a lot of misinformation within the next 18 months, today being July 21st, 2015. In the next 18 months of the next campaign election, a lot of things will be said, and I'm going to give citations and resources so that people can read up on these different issues and make the informed opinions and vote accordingly. First of all, I'll introduce myself. My name is Mayra Calo. I am an immigration lawyer in Tampa, Florida. You can tell by my accent, I am a Nuyorican, which means I'm a Puerto Rican born and raised in New York. I originally I started my education at SUNY Albany, State University of New York in Albany. Then I transferred to Fordham University in New York. I then took a long break while I got married, had children, and moved to Tampa, Florida. I went back to school and started I finished my bachelor's degree at the University of South Florida. And then I got my Juris Doctor, my law degree at Stetson University in St. Petersburg, and I have been practicing immigration law since 2002. The types of immigration cases that I do include removal defense, which means for people in deportation, family immigration, bringing family members into the United States or legalizing the status of people in the United States on family-related types of cases. I also do asylum for people who are fleeing persecution from their countries. More recently, I've been concentrating on unaccompanied minors who've arrived at the border without parents and trying to help them get situated here in the United States. My practice varies, let's just put it that way. And I love this area of the law. I got into it because there were so many immigrants that I knew growing up in New York, and going into law school I always knew that I wanted to be an immigration lawyer. And I love what I do. I'm very passionate about it, and my clients and my friends will tell you that I live and breathe immigration law. And to that note, let's get started. This little video, people tell me that my first video should be short, like a minute and a half to 3 minutes. I'm going to buck the system and make that a little longer, and maybe my future videos will be shorter. But I'm going to discuss immigration history in the United States from the inception up until the 20th century. In a nutshell, in the beginning, when the founding fathers were writing the Constitution, immigration wasn't a big concern. They wanted people to come to the United States, and people were coming in all different manners. Either they were being sent here by the monarchy, or they were coming from different countries, fleeing for their countries for different reasons. And when the founding fathers wrote the Constitution, they did specifically address naturalization. It is in Section 8 of the Powers of the Congress. It's an enumerated clause that gives the Congress the authority to establish a uniform rule of naturalization. Between when the Constitution was written up until just after the Civil War, immigration wasn't really a big concern. They wanted people to come in. We needed the workers. We needed the engineers to come in with innovation and help grow our nation at the time. The first law that was passed regarding immigration was the Alien Sedition Act. It was passed in 1798 during the John Adams administration. If you are interested, there's a great book called Founding Brothers. It's written by Joseph Ellis. It's a fabulous book that brings history to life, and it basically talks about how the Founding Fathers had a hard time building our country, and the different dynamics that went on. And it does talk about the Alien Sedition Act. It was passed by Congress basically to make it harder for immigrants to enter the United States, and to make it easier to deport foreigners. At the time, it was thought that other countries were sending people to the United States to infiltrate the United States and perhaps bring down this brand new country. And along the line, a lot of different things were happening. Germans, the types of immigrants that were coming, the origins were Germans, Irish, Italians, Jews, and Chinese. And they each cultural or nationality group ran into different types of resistance. Would you say their own xenophobia at the time? Germans and Italian Catholics were thought that they would not be loyal to the United States because they were Catholic, and that their allegiance was to the Pope. As the years went by, of course, that turned out not to be true. And Jews also having a history of being shunned and having pogroms and being refused entry. That's been a long history for Jews, unfortunately. And then the Chinese were brought over because they were needed in the labor force to help the United States build their railroad system. And one of the first laws that went into effect specifically towards one group was the Chinese Exclusion Act. The Chinese Exclusion Act was passed in 1887, and the whole law is called the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, and then there was another one, the Alien Contract Labor Law, that was passed between 1885 and 1887. It prohibited certain laborers from immigrating to the United States, but specifically Chinese. And the general idea of those laws was to restrict Chinese from coming to the United States. At that point, Congress thought that we had enough Chinese to fulfill the labor needs that we needed, and they wanted to stop further Chinese immigration into the United States. And they also levied a tax. It was when they first started to put the burden on the employer. If the employers were to hire or bring in laborers that were restricted under those laws, they levied a tax on the employers of 50 cents per employee. Flash forward to nowadays, the levies can be as much as $10,000 per alien rather than 50 cents. So that's the inflation rate. Later on, they also passed laws to block the entrance of idiots, lunatics, convicts, and persons likely to become a public charge. And that brings us to the 1880s and the creation of the first agency designed specifically for immigration and immigration enforcement and customs. It was originally under the Treasury Department, and it designed at the federal level for the first time an agency that would focus on immigration, who could come in, who would not, and also collecting customs agency to collect tax on produce and products being imported into the United States and controlling what could come into the United States or not. And that brings us to the 20th century, and that's what I promised you. There were a lot of laws that were passed by as part of case precedent, mostly dealing with who was a citizen or not. That under the 14th Amendment, which is a little separate from the idea that I had for this video, so I'm not going to cover those in detail. But the 14th Amendment did specifically address who is a citizen, and who, anyone born or naturalized in the United States is a citizen and under the jurisdiction of the United States. But that will be a topic for another video. So I hope that you enjoyed this one. Feel free to make comments, and I will address your comments in future videos. And I hope to see you coming around and watching this again. Thanks.